Among the Osmat people of New Guinea, there exists a way of life that has remained unchanged since the Stone Age. In 1961, it drew the attention of a restless young man named Michael Rockefeller. For the primitive Osmat tribes, life is a continual interaction of ghosts, spirits, and magic. Tribal warfare is commonplace and expected. Death must be met with revenge. Among these fierce Aboriginal men, Michael Rockefeller traveled to study and learn. In their midst, he disappeared and was never seen again. Rockefeller passionately documented Osmat life. The Osmat was an adventure beyond his wildest dreams, yet one from which he would never return. University, June 1960. For Governor and Mrs. Nelson Rockefeller, it was a special, emotional moment. Their youngest son, Michael, had graduated with honors. Ahead of him lay a life filled with promise and great opportunity. At 22, Michael Rockefeller was the most outgoing and restless of the governor's 3 sons and 2 daughters. He loved travel and people, and within 6 months he was half a world away in the remote highlands of Dutch New Guinea. Michael had joined an anthropological expedition to study and record a Stone Age tribe called the Dani. Sensitive and enthusiastic, he took special pleasure in his work. For 6 months, Michael served as the expedition's soundman and still photographer. When his work was over, he was drawn to another part of New Guinea, to a people called the Osmat. Along the coast and in the winding tidal rivers of southern New Guinea, the primitive Osmat tribes lived as they had since primeval times. Michael Rockefeller traveled throughout the region, fascinated by the Osmat culture and way of life. On November 18, 1961, Michael Rockefeller embarked on a native catamaran for a village up the coast. With him was Dutch anthropologist Renee Wassing and 2 native guides. The purpose of the trip was to pick up carvings for which Michael already had bartered. The makeshift catamaran was powered by only a single outboard motor. Michael had been warned of dangerous, unpredictable currents. At the mouth of the Islandan River, a massive tidal surge suddenly drowned the motor and capsized the boat. The natives swam for help. Rockefeller and Wassing clung to the boat, hopelessly adrift. After a night in the water, fearing the natives had failed, Michael decided to go for help himself. Using 2 empty gasoline cans for extra buoyancy, he swam for shore. Michael Rockefeller and Renee Wassing didn't know it, but their native guides had made it back to land.
The Warren Commission decided that there were 3 shots fired, and the first shot struck the president in the back, exited his throat, went on to strike Governor Connolly in the back, and exited in his right chest, and then went through his right wrist, and then wound up embedded in his thigh, and the bullet fell out at Parkland Hospital. The Warren Commission also decided the second shot probably missed and flew off into Dealey Plaza somewhere. And the commission decided that the third shot struck the president in the head and killed him. And that's the official version of what happened. And it's interesting, one of the early researchers pointed out that no witness at any time has ever described the assassination as having happened that way.
Gary Mack, aanhanger van de Warren-commissie, heeft ook hier een verklaring voor.
Why did Oswald shoot the president on Elm Street and not on Houston Street, which seems to be a lot easier?
Well, the investigators looked at that, and the best thinking is that with the cars coming toward the building this way, all eyes are looking forward, and they would see him right away. This way, by waiting until he turned the corner and was going away from the building, everyone was looking forward. The shooter apparently Oswald behind him, they would not have seen him fast enough to respond. So the implication is that the gunman watched the traffic and understood the best way to do it.
A logical reason.
Well, I mean, how much logic can you apply to the Kennedy assassination in that Lee Harvey Oswald is believed to be the assassin and killer of President Kennedy, and even 40-plus years later, no one knows why he did it.
Good morning. Rockefeller. Nice to see you.
Who are you?
We're not getting into that.
You said
We're not getting into any aliases or anything. Start in 1993.
right. I mean, who are you now?
Clark Rockefeller.
And I mean, you know, we'll start with 1993. That's when you met Sandra. How did you meet Sandra?
We met at a Clue game. I used to host Clue parties.
You courted for 2 years. What was the courtship like? What did you do?
Well, she lived in Boston. I lived in New York. It was a challenge to get back and forth, but she usually came down to New York once on a weekend. I went up to Boston the other weekends, so we traded off in terms of where we went.
What would you do for fun?
Go to restaurants, do the New York thing, go to plays.
Mm-hmm. Why can't you remember certain things? Why is it so difficult to remember?
I just don't know.
Have you been trying to remember? I mean, it must be.
Does that trouble you, not being able to remember?
I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to remember. So. Well, you know, I try to look forward rather than look into the past.
What are your dreams about these days?
I very rarely remember my dreams.
How did Sandra break your heart?
Back then or now?
What led to you guys ending up in the Suffolk Probate Family Court?
Can you rephrase your question, Pops?
You were in love?
Absolutely.
You were not. You were in love, and then one day you were not, and then you were in court.
Oh.
How did you end up in court?
I am
what happened to the love?
Clearly.
Mr. Mark Lane has been around for many years, identifying himself gladly with causes worthy, controversial, and unworthy. He has been a special favorite of the left liberal community in New York City, which he greatly pleased by his myriad activities, ranging from the organization of rent strikes, opposition to bomb shelter programs, involvement in legal and civil rights groups irrespective of government claims that they were communist infiltrated. He was, in short, a hero in important circles in New York well before the assassination of President Kennedy by whoever assassinated President Kennedy. Not, we must assume, from Mr. Lane, Harvey Lee Oswald. Mr. Lane is a skillful lawyer and has written a best-selling book called Rush to Judgment. The publishers maintain that this book has, quotes, changed history, that single-handedly Mr. Lane has discredited the Warren Report. We are not here to discuss the minutiae of the controversies raised by the Warren Commission and its critics for the simple reason that it is impractical to do so. Rather, we will treat more general questions. I'd like to begin by asking Mr. Lane this. It is widely alleged that sinister forces who have a vested interest in suppressing the real truth as to the identity of the assassin have been here and there killing off crucial people, former strippers and rubies joined in dollars, a truck driver.
You must love Monday mornings after the Oscars because you always seem to win about 30 of them.
And we stay up all night, too, which is even better.
How many of them have you won so far?
We've been nominated for 303, and we've won 90.
90.
associated, I'm Yana Reed. So
Yana Reed, that's right. Congratulations. I heard on the 17th of October there's going to be an episode devoted to Williams syndrome.
Exactly. And Neil Baer, who was the showrunner on SVU, is on his way down, but we're very proud of the episode.
Nice to have you here.
Yeah, good to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Good year for you.
I like those so far.
And you I read too, you really like to watch people watch these movies. So have you been able to sit in a theater and get the audience reaction to the artist? Because I'm sure it's not what I expected when I popped it into my DVD player.
You know, you see it, and you know the audience explodes in laughter. They howl. You know, Kenneth Turan of the Los Angeles Times said there have been 2 recent movie miracles: Avatar, which is the highest end of technology, and you know the artist, which is sort of the low tech.
Right.
But the laughs and enjoyment and thrills are the same on both.
After writing, the most important thing. I mean, you don't pick the right leads, the show will definitely fail. I mean, that's a given. People don't like the actor, it doesn't matter what words you give them. At the same time, really good words can make a not great actor seem terrific. I mean, it's not... You're not on stage at the old Vic. Television acting is close-ups and coverage, and you know it doesn't require the same level of expertise of walking onto a stage and carrying that off. So you can do very good work if you're given really good words and not be a superb actor, but you cannot be unlikable and you cannot be a bad actor. It's very subtle.
Don't make me go to rehab. I said no, no, no. Yes, I've been black, but when
White House. Now, I saw you nodding there, fella, when we were talking about things you'd forgotten. You've done the passport.
I left my passport at the airport. Left it at home, got to the airport loads of times, 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
We did it this time, actually, flying up to Glasgow.
Really?
We didn't need it. We didn't need it, so...
Oh, you're all right then.
Then it was.
Mitch, really exciting time for you. You got the new album coming out. We're going to talk about that in just a moment, but how is Amy doing? Is she well?
Absolutely fantastic. I spoke to her this morning. She's doing her photo shoot today for Fred Perry.
Wow.
This collaboration she's doing with Fred Perry. And I have to announce she's got a new boyfriend.
Whoa!
Really?
Exclusive on the hour.
Exclusive for Scottish TV.
Really? Are you quite relieved?
I'm happy she's got a new boyfriend, and I'm happy she's moving on with her life.
Is he in the business? Is he in the music business?
Well, I guess that goes back to who they were. There was a young executive named Dick Ebersol who'd worked with Roone Arledge at ABC Sports and who came over to NBC to be the new director of Late Night. He and I had a bunch of meetings, and I had been frustrated with the kind of shows that I've been doing with Lily Tomlin, which the standard sort of answer to that kind of show was that it's great, but it won't work.
In July, the world lost a unique star. Just a week after her death, her award-winning album Back to Black was re-released and became the UK's best-selling album of the century.
Well, as a tribute to her talent, her father Mitch launched the Amy Winehouse Foundation on what would have been her 28th birthday, and it hopes to raise £2 million in its first year to help vulnerable and disadvantaged young people around the world. Mitch is with us now. Morning, Mitch.
Morning, Mitch.
Morning.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
You've already raised £300,000, haven't you?
Yeah, and I'll be very disappointed if we don't raise £2 million in the first year.
Really? Why did you set up the foundation?
I got the news of Amy's passing. When I was in my cousin's flat in Manhattan, and an icy calm came over me, and just the words that came into my head: Amy Winehouse Foundation, Amy Winehouse Foundation, Amy Winehouse Foundation. So I guess she was telling me to set up the Amy Winehouse Foundation.
What for?
Well, she loved children. There are so many things about her that people don't know. I'm writing a book by the way, and obviously the proceeds of that are going to the foundation as well. And there's so many great things about her and her generosity towards all people, but particularly children. She loved children so much, and music, of course.
There's a wonderful world of wobbly weebles, Daddy and Mommy, sis and brother too, helping your kids learn about the world we live.
Long before Zbigniew Brzezinski was National Security Advisor for President Jimmy Carter, he was a professor, a thinker, a theorist of foreign policy ideas. And with his new book, Strategic Vision, America and the Crisis of Global Power, Brzezinski puts his professorial cap on again, taking a long, hard look at America's standing and offering up strategic solutions of how the United States ought to approach this brave new world. Welcome, Zbig.
Fareed, it's good to be with you again.
We'll get to the big picture in a moment, but since I have you, I cannot but ask you, what do you think is going to happen with this crisis with Iran? You have Israel on the one hand threatening to act. You have the United States, which has been putting a great deal of pressure on Iran, but now trying to dial back a little bit of the rhetoric. What do you think? Where's this going to end up?
I think it all depends on how determined, clear-headed, and explicit the United States is. If we drift, if we fuzz the words over, if we are ambiguous, it could end up very, very badly. If the United States is clear-cut, if it makes it very clear to the Iranians that they're not going to be part of the global community if they persist in violating the NPT. But if at the same time we don't offer them only the choice of capitulation or strangulation, which would force them to lash out, and if we at the same time make it clear that if they continue with their investigations and research and perhaps weapons development, we will in any case guarantee the security of the Middle East, including that of Israel, the way we have done it for Japan and South Korea, very effectively over the years.
Put a nuclear umbrella over the
Yes,
the Middle
and
East.
we did it for Europe.
Crazy. I'm crazy for feeling so.
Oh, baby, 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 baby. I come back, baby. I wanna play house with you. Well, you may go to college, you may go to school, you may have a pink Cadillac, but don't you be nobody's fool. And now, baby, come back, baby, come back, baby, come back, baby. I wanna play house with you.
That's all right. I don't know.
Oh, that's fine. Okay.
Okay.
Marina, what do you do all day? How do you spend your day?
Yeah. I am busy with my children all day. I try to help to clean house and wash diapers, and little bit cook, play with children outside. Yeah.
Are you under arrest of any kind?
No, I never done was arrest in the United States, in Russia too.
Are you free to do what you want to do?
Yes, I am free. If I can't, no, if I want to go to shopping or every place, I can to go.
How about your children, Marina? Are they good children? Do they behave?
Yes, my children very good for me, and I think this is very good children for everybody because Junior and Rachel is very quiet and listening.
How do you speak to the children? In Russian or in English?
I speak with Junior Many times I speak with Junior in Russian language, but sometimes if I know English words, I speak English.
Juni is 2 years old?
Junior is 2 years old in February. And
Rachel
she understands English and Russian, but she don't speak language. No.
And Rachel is 3 months?
3 months old.
Marina, do you believe that your husband killed President Kennedy?
I don't want to believe, but I have too much facts, and facts tell me that Lee shot Kennedy.
Did Lee ever tell you that he was going to do this?
He never don't tell me this. And this was a very bad surprise for me.
Marina, did you love Lee Oswald?
Yes, I love Lee and I sorry him.
You what?
I'm sorry.
You're sorry for him?
Yes. Because he died very young.
Do you visit his grave still?
I visit him in grave every week. 1 time or 2 times a week.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Anderson. Welcome to another Visit with the Legends. Well, she only lived to be 30 years old, and she recorded only 106 songs in her entire lifetime. And yet today, some 43 years after her death, she's been called the most important ever woman performer in country music. There have been books written about her life, a full-length movie based on her story, a live play that ran for several years at the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville and later toured the country, and she's in the Guinness Book of World Records for having had a recording in the charts for 771 weeks, with 251 of those weeks at #1. The album was called Patsy Cline's Greatest Hits, and today we're going to remember Patsy. We're going to revisit her music and her life, and we've got some very special guests in the studio and standing by in other places around the country to help us celebrate Patsy and the wonderful musical legacy that she left us. Charlie Dick is here. Charlie was Patsy's husband from 1957 until her death in the crash of a private plane in 1963. Charlie, always good to see you. Thanks for coming by.
See you, Bill. Nice to be here.
And with you, of course, your daughter and Patsy's daughter, Julie Fudge. Julie, great to have you with us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And seated in between Charlie and Julie, one of Patsy's good friends at the Grand Ole Opry, touring buddies, and a lady that has several unusual connections with Patsy Cline, my buddy Jan Howard.
It's great to be here.
Good.
As promised, we have Patsy Cline's daughter. Please welcome Julie Fudge.
Hello, Julie.
All right, Julie. Let me ask you, when you sit there and watch stories like we've been running on your mom, do you look at that and go, well, that's my mom? Or is that just this persona, this image that, you know, that people have of her?
There's a little bit of both. I see a lot of things I remember and a lot of things I get used to seeing over the years.
Well, you were only 4 years old.
That's right.
When she died. So you're kind of in the same boat as Hank Williams Jr. because his died dead when he was only 3 years old. And all he hears are stories that other people tell.
You hear lots of them.
Yeah. Do you think that you have a solid idea of who your mom was?
I think I do in the sense of family, the family side, because I've still been around her family a lot, and I see a lot of her and her family in every member of them.
going to talk to you about today comes from my heart, from my experience in life, from playing this role as messenger, which I take very seriously, from my efforts to wake up the American people, from my family, from all the letters that I get, from people that I talk to, just like I've talked to many of you here today. I've learned some things, and I think these things need to be passed on to you. And I think you need to start examining yourself, your agenda, your mission. Who are you? What are you about? What do you believe about America? Is it true? Are you helping to divide us more? Or are you helping to bring us together? Do you really understand what this country is all about?
This is, as Judith Rodin was saying, really the beginning of the Rockefeller Foundation centennial. Don't know if it's the warm-up or the spring training, but our actual centennial is in 2013, so thanks for helping us practice, but these are real games too. John D. Rockefeller Sr. is my great-grandfather, and unfortunately I didn't know him, so I have no personal anecdotes, but John D. Rockefeller Jr., his son, my grandfather, I actually knew quite well. I think I was in my early 20s when he died. He was really the active member of the family on the board. It's been said, and I still can hardly believe it, Judy, that my great-grandfather, who founded the foundation, never went to a board meeting, never attended a board meeting. That's a lot of trust. That's a lot of trust. And one of the people he trusted most was his son, John Jr., who was at the same time shy, meticulous, gracious, determined, caring, very on time, and amazingly connected to people.
Well, I have studied many conspiracy theories in my life, and the absolute worst one I've ever heard is the official version of 9/11. We were told that 19 Muslim fanatics somehow bypassed our $40 billion defense system, hijacked 4 planes simultaneously, causing their transponders to go off almost at the exact same time. We're totally lost from FAA radar, not to mention satellite radar and NORAD radar, made their way to New York and crashed into 2 prominent landmarks, the 2 towers of the World Trade Center, and then another one crashed into the Pentagon, and then another one crashed in Pennsylvania, and all of this under the direction of a Muslim cleric hiding in a cave in Afghanistan with a computer. Now, if that isn't about the craziest conspiracy theory I ever heard, and yet that is what we are expected to accept as the legitimate version of what happened on 9/11.
Good afternoon. You know, in August last year, a large group of citizens came to my office from the Surprise Arizona Tea Party, met with me, asked if I would investigate the controversy surrounding President Obama's birth certificate and his ability to serve as the President of the United States. This group expressed displeasure that no law enforcement agency in the country has ever gone on record indicating that they had either looked into this situation or were willing to do so.
Paraphrase, but it did say put them on a one-way first-class trip to Paris and have a Muslim suicide pilot crash that plane and kill them all. Rather very harsh, mean comments.
Oh, of course, I can imagine. Wow.
Because, like you said, that's a Republican division. With the votes he's got, he has to have a primetime speech.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Tea Party Republicans are looking forward to that speech. A lot of the so-called regular Republicans wish he was not making a speech at all. And another interesting thing I always include about Ron Paul is all these candidates for president we've had for so many years. Ron Paul, who opposes all these foreign wars, who thinks the Vietnam War was wrong, is the only candidate of either party in all the primaries who's ever put his own life at risk voluntarily.
Well, McGinnis says in his article that that the Philadelphia Bulletin took Walter, and they went to the Barclay Hotel with an editor, and they spent 5 days there breaking that magazine article into 17 separate newspaper stories, but only one of them ran, and that was buried on page 12. Anything about that?
No.
McGinnis also said in that article that he had quotes from you that Philadelphians are not used to reading. Quotes things that you said. For example, I am no Hitler, but I am a tough cop, and if they want to try me, those black bastards, I'll prove it. End quote.
Well, let me tell you now, I'm sitting here, and I'm trying to be a professional, but I just don't like some of the questions that I'm being asked. I have never used that expression, and I think it's unfair for a man of your reputation to even throw the type question that you are, but I'll sit here and answer them. I never use that language.
Well, Mr. Mayor, have you seen this magazine?
Well, that don't make it accurate. I know a newspaper man that's in prison.
I know some policemen that are in prison,
right.
too. That doesn't mean...
No, that don't mean that everything that McGinnis...
I know a mayor that's in prison.
But that don't mean that Mr. McGinnis, because he writes something, that it's true.
Well, I'm simply asking you about these things, and there's a big story. I've been around this community, around the country, that you have been very tough on reporters, that you've kicked them out of your office, that when they asked you tough questions, you demand that they be fired and all that. And
That's not true. And talk to some of the reporters in Philadelphia.
I've talked to them.
And what response did you get?
Well, let me read you a letter I got from a man from San Francisco who watches this show. He says, I take your show in on a weekly basis via Channel 4 in San Francisco, and I heard you say last night you'll be interviewing Mayor Frank Rizzo of Philadelphia. So I hope this letter reaches you in time. I was born and raised in Wilmington, Delaware, and lived in Philadelphia between 67 and 71. Then he goes on and gives me his credentials. He says, my message to you, Frank Rizzo is a disease, a crippling disease that is turning young people away from Philadelphia in droves. I left Philadelphia despite a lot of chances to move up. I wasn't the first to split from Filthydelphia, and I won't be the last. Now, I mean, this is a reporter whom I don't know, who's got credentials, has a very prominent position. He's out on the West Coast. Why would he write me a letter like that about you?
Because just the expressions that he used would indicate to me that he needs help.
But why would he write that?
Oh,
I mean,
I
don't
idea.
know the man.
I could show you a stack of letters that I receive every day telling me and many other people who serve with me what a good job's being done. So again, you know, we're never going to have everyone love us. And I would suggest that as a result of that letter, that he might need some help.
I like your hair.
Thank you.
That's fun. Isn't that like that, like a little anime style? Is that what you call that? Or
I feel like Yuna.
Who's Yuna?
From the video game.
Oh, yeah? Yuna?
Yuna.
Yuna?
Yeah, she's a summoner.
Yeah, summoner. All right, so give me a little spin. Okay, you're healthy, right? I mean, you've had physicals and stuff. There's nothing wrong. There's no ailments.
Let's do this tomorrow. You know, I got my pole outfit sorted, okay? Because when I go to the polls in California, it's going to be on point. It's going to be red, white, and blue for you-know-who. So you better do it. If not, I'm going to come and get you. No, really, honestly, it's such an honor to be here on this stage. I'm so excited to see Obama and to hear him speak. You excited?
We got very lucky, yeah. and it's actually really a great thing. Our show was created by a woman, Liz Merriweather, who is She's just 29 years old.
What has she done before?
She wrote No Strings Attached. She's amazing, and so it's really fun for me because I've been doing comedies for a long time. I love doing comedies, but this show is the first time I've actually been able to not not be playing somebody's girlfriend, not just be like, what are you doing, and I actually get to carry a lot of the comedy, so it's fun.
No, it's great, and I really like the guys too.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're amazing actors.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm hearing my song on the radio for the first time ever in life.
The fairy tale and the heartbreak.
Being in love is not like the movies. There's a lot more sacrifice.
So was there any hesitation about putting yourself out there?
I wouldn't have done it any other way. I paid for the movie myself and financed it the whole way.
The movie is part backstage pass to Perry's wildly successful tour and part documentary. It not only chronicles her path towards superstardom, it also offers a window into the superstar's personal life, including how Perry's famously evangelical parents deal with her coquettish cotton candy persona.
You gonna watch me, Mom?
I'm not gonna watch if you got half your clothes off.
Is that rain?
Yes, it appears to be raining.
Oh. Let's get tomato soup delivered.
I found a number of restaurants whose reviews mention tomato soup and that deliver.
Good. Because I don't want to put on real shoes. Remind me to clean up tomorrow.
Okay, I'll remind you.
Excellent. Today, we're dancing. Play.
I've actually witnessed 5 people that have been bitten and died. And the bad thing is within 3 minutes you die.
3 minutes?
And people are now to the point where they're not playing basketball in outside. They're going inside to do it.
You're kidding me. You mean in Seattle they're slowly getting out of all outside activities because of this Brazilian deadly spider?
Yes, and that's why I'm called.
That is the essence of Coast to Coast, hosted 5 nights a week by George Norrie.
When I feel blue in the night.
It's radio for the night people, shift workers and truck drivers, people who are awake, thinking, in need of conversation.
2 months after he died, I saw him, and I go, Dad, is that you? Barack Obama. I've never trusted the man.
We are heading for civil war or revolution.
On the out-of-body experiences, how does a person get into that? I'm actually going to start a movement up here of trying to do away with property tax.
We'll get a Barack Obama call. We'll get a truck driver who's ticked off about something. It runs the gamut.
Norrie is the sympathetic ear for guests and callers who talk about everything from the political to the paranormal. It is, he says, a show about mystery.
The search for Bigfoot, the question about UFOs, crop formations, are they real? I mean, we look at all of them.
We go next to Joan in Anchorage, Alaska, west of the Rockies. Hey, Joan, welcome to the show.
I was just wanting to say about the economy. If we would pull the gold and silver out of the ground, we could back up our money with that.
Where are we going to find all that?
Oh, it's all over the place. It's under the ground.
Show me. Let's go one weekend and you point out all the gold and we'll start digging.
He says it's like sitting around a campfire roasting marshmallows.
You got Bigfoot, you have paranormal activity.
ये मेरे करम फरमाओ ने ये बात की है उसका सवाल जो था वो डिफरेंट था जवाब डिफरेंट था उन्होंने मुझसे कहा कि पाकिस्तान इज अ फेल स्टेट और इस फेल स्टेट में कोई रहना नहीं चाहता मैंने कहा कि पाकिस्तान इज नॉट अ फेल स्टेट इट इज अ सक्सेसफुल स्टेट और अगर इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में फेल स्टेट के बहाने कोई जाना चाहता है तो चला जाए खत्म होती आप कभी आए मेरे साथ मुलाकात करें मैं आपको बताऊंगा हम आपको इम्प्रेस करना चाहते हैं हम आपको इम्प्रेस करना चाहते हैं देखें आप राजा साहब का फायदा तो ना उठाएं मुझसे क्या मैं पता देखें ये अब वजीर साहब के ऊपर है कि जितनी हिम्मत करेंगे अगर ये चाहते हैं कि हम नया इलेक्शन जीत जाएं तो ये कर देंगे
ये है वो मसला जो कि आवाम की दुखती रग है
By the time the third one comes along, you should have the hang of it.
Sorry, I made you lie. You know I wouldn't if I didn't have to.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's not cool to lie. You know that, right? I've told you that before. It's just, well, sometimes we have to lie in order to protect ourselves from all the evil people out there who seek to destroy us.
Let's hear a boo for that. And Thomas Jefferson said, the democracy will cease to exist when you take away from those willing to work and give to those who would not. Let's hear it for Thomas Jefferson. I say fire the Congress.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Because you can handle the truth.
Welcome back, friends. My guest this hour is David Duke. His website is davidduke.com. Okay, tell us about some of the videos that you've been making.
Well, as you know, we've been doing things on every subject that's of pertinence to Western mankind and really the people of the world, because I think the principles that we talk about and that I talk about are really not only good for Europeans, but good for everyone.
Since I'd last seen my high school sweetheart, he became a cop. He came in the door in his little police costume, you know. I like to call it that because he takes it so seriously, you know. Bang, bang, 10-4. Had a perimeter. I chased a vehicle with 2 armed subjects. Perpetrators. Canine. Affirmative.
And now it's time for Victoria's Secrets.
This week, I have 3 secrets that I'd like to reveal to you. But please don't tell anyone. The first secret is, a lot of people ask me, are you as dumb as you appear on the show? The answer is, I don't know.
Okay, no, darling, no. We're going to embarrass your sister in an orderly fashion.
God, I hate this family.
I knew people would like that family. Who wouldn't? It wasn't just that the character was based on me. It's the entire family was based on my entire family.
Hey, Mom, what you working on?
Invoices. I'm ordering new children. Roseanne and Dan, they were very much like the relationship between me and my husband, Bill, who was also very funny. We had 3 kids, and they were like those kids.
Gee, that is so rude.
47 with bombs dropping behind her.
No, it's that Che Guevara.
Who is it?
It's all of them. It's every despot in the world, including Rush Limbaugh. That's what the cigar is for.
Oh. Okay, so you're not saying communism's good?
No, I'm for the creation of an entirely new economic system.